I'm sure we've all had the whole Batman debate multiple times in our lives. Which actor did it better, or which director's vision was more fitting? And while there's always that one guy who can't stop singing the praises of Nolan's trilogy, some of us know that the real gem isn't in the cinematic universe at all. Rather, if you really want to see the best Batman, you've got to enter the DC animated universe, Batman Beyond. And it isn't just Batman Beyond. The DC animated universe is like a treasure trove. It gets all those things right that the movies just don't. So imagine our excitement when we hear that there's one hell of a lineup of DC animated series waiting for us. And with James Gunn and Peter Safran steering the boat, well, be prepared for some insane boundary-pushing additions. I mean, just look at the new Clayface trailer. If that doesn't get you excited, well then stick with us and we'll take you through our jam-packed list. Absolute Batman animated series. We're starting off the list very strong with an animated version of Absolute Batman. The series was officially announced by Safran during DC Studios and Warner Bros. Animation's presentation at the 2026 Annecy International Animation Film Festival. Now, for those of you who don't read the comics much, well, you probably can't yet understand what the hype is all about. But let me tell you, Absolute Batman is being adapted from a comic of the same name, and that comic switched things up like crazy. It's a literal, award-winning series that people loved, and it's actually a part of the Absolute universe. You know how people always critique Batman for not really being a superhero, but just a rich guy living off his dad's money. Well, Absolute Batman changed all of that. In the comics, Bruce Wayne was no longer the prodigal son with never-ending generational wealth, living in Wayne Manor. Instead, he was actually a young working-class man, working as a blue-collar civil engineer and construction worker. In this storyline, he made all of his gear and armor himself with his own skill and resourcefulness. Tell me that's not a really good premise. The comics were created by Snyder, with art by Nick Dragotta, and it looks like that same pair is returning to carry forward this project. Scott Snyder will be returning as executive producer and showrunner, and Dragotta will be back as producer. And while it's absolutely about time to adapt something different and give us the DC universe we've all been waiting for, right now they have a goldmine with Absolute Batman, and that means an even higher possibility of messing it up. We've got a bunch of main lines that'll hopefully also be adapted and connected, but the starting has got to be strong. You know, people have some high expectations for this, and as of yet, we don't have much info or confirmation about the voice cast or any release window, but don't worry, we'll keep updating you guys as and when we hear more information about it.
You wanted monsters, you got monsters.
Creature Commandos Season 2. Okay, this one's gonna be familiar to some of you, and I can't wait for it, honestly. So, Creature Commandos Season 1 premiered back in December 2024, and it revolved around Amanda Waller's unconventional but super badass team of monsters and killers taking on the missions that superheroes can't, well, you know, the missions that need to be kept strictly off book. It's basically the Suicide Squad, but even quirkier with the misfits of the DCU. The first season was so successful, especially with all the critical praise, that the second season was renewed in December 2024, and DC confirmed in 2025 the production was already underway. Now, Season 1 ended on a pretty heartbreaking note. Spoiler warning, guys. Nina is killed by Princess Ilana, and when the bride discovers Ilana's true nature, well, she kills her in turn and then takes over as the new leader of Task Force M. And that's how things were left. But James Gunn has actually confirmed that Season 2 is going to pick up after the events of Peacemaker Season 2, so at least we have some idea regarding the timeline. Now, another thing that's going to be different from Season 1 is the creative team behind the show. In Season 1, Gunn pretty much carried the whole script writing on his back, but Season 2 is going to see Gunn be joined by a whole writer's room. That's got to take off some pressure. But considering that he's still very much involved, I'm sure the show will continue moving in the right direction. Now, as for the cast, of course, we'll have a whole bunch of characters returning from the first season, though we don't have a complete official cast announcement or list. We know that Indira Varma will return as the bride, having taken over the team, and Sean Gunn will also return as Weasel and a rebuilt GI robot. And there's also Alan Tudyk as Dr. Phosphorus. Apart from the returning members, we also have some very exciting new additions like the vampire Nosferatu, Carles, the 1,000-year-old mummy, and King Shark, who's voiced by Diedrich Bader. Basically, you can expect a lot of good things from the upcoming season. Season 1 already showed us exactly what Gunn can do when he's given the weirdest of the weird and room to just play around and flesh out characters properly. The final product had violence and dark humor, and also this very emotional core, because he treated the monsters as flawed people rather than just side characters or scary lessons. The 10-episode season is set to return to HBO Max in 2027, so it's right around the corner, guys. Gotta get ready. And if you haven't watched the first season, well, what are you doing? Go watch it now. My Adventures with Green Lantern. Now, this one's another very interesting project because it takes an IP that we've all heard of, Green Lantern, but goes in a different direction, shining the spotlight on someone we haven't seen much of. You see, the series was announced in February 2025 as another animated project from the creative team behind My Adventures with Superman. And if you've watched Season 3, then you already know that here, Jessica Cruz is our future Green Lantern. The show will start at the very beginning as Jessica Cruz, who was just a high school student, is chosen by a Green Lantern power ring, and her whole life turns upside down. And according to the official logline, things get even worse when more debris from the Lantern's ancient space war arrives, along with their alien foes. Now, I'll tell you why I'm personally looking forward to this. We've all seen several Green Lanterns, and when we come across them, they're mostly already established space cops who have a whole roster of villains they've already taken down. But this one's going to show us the trials and tribulations that you have to get through to become the Green Lantern we always see. And best of all, it'll happen when she's still just a student. We'll get to watch Jessica juggle her new powers, the responsibilities that come with them, and her high school problems like homework and boys, all at the same time. It'll basically be like a coming-of-age story, which will hopefully make the whole Green Lantern mythology feel very grounded and personal. Oh, and for those of you who are disappointed that it's Jessica instead of Kyle Rayner, well, rumors have been going around that we'll indeed get to see other characters such as Rayner as a potential love interest, and also Nikki Jones and Kilowog. Of course, we have the same creative team, with Jake Wyatt serving as executive producer and Stephanie Gonzaga as co-executive producer, which is a good sign. And we also know who's voicing Jessica Cruz. It's Auli E. Carvalho, whom you'll probably know as Moana. She's already been introduced to us in the third season of My Adventures with Superman. Now, given everything, a 2026 release doesn't seem too likely, so we're probably considering a 2027 debut, although the show is separate from the main DC continuity. So let's wait and see what happens. Mr. Miracle animated series. This one is a particularly ambitious project, I must say, and it's going to be a part of the expanding adult animated DC universe. By the name, some of you might already recognize it. Mr. Miracle is actually an extremely successful and critically acclaimed comic book series with 12 issues that even won the Eisner Award. It was created by Tom King and Mitch Gerads and is now being adapted as an animated series. It's being developed by Warner Brothers Animation and DC Studios, with animation from Titmouse. And of course, they had to keep Tom King as the showrunner, who's already confirmed that the scripts are written and production is underway. Even Gunn has mentioned that this series will officially be part of the DCU canon. Now, as for the plot, well, Mr. Miracle is the moniker of Scott Free, who's widely known as the greatest escape artist in the world. Actually, worlds plural. Earth, New Genesis, and Apocalypse. And when this man and his wife Big Barda finally settled down into a peaceful, perfect life on Earth, a war broke out between the planets Apocalypse and New Genesis. Oh, and did I mention Scott is actually the adopted son of Darkseid? Yeah, Darkseid had captured the anti-life equation, and now it was up to Scott to navigate his relationship with his father, his own traumatic past and childhood, and a war raging on the battlefield. Unfortunately for him, this time there was no escaping. The comic did a brilliant job with his character, as it used Scott's whole obsession with escaping death to explore even more serious themes, such as depression, trauma, identity, and even parenthood. It asked the question of whether people can truly escape the things that shape them and make them who they are. The generational trauma is strong with this one, guys. If executed properly, well, we're looking at some powerfully emotional stuff. Now, we have pretty limited info about the cast and stuff, and there's definitely no release date in sight. But I'd say let them take the time and get it right. It'll be worth the wait. Joker, Laugh Riot. When Joker, Laugh Riot was announced, it low-key broke the internet. And let me tell you why. This new series isn't just an animated series. It's going to be DC Studios' first ever anime series. The project was greenlit and announced at the 2026 Annecy presentation, and people couldn't stop talking about it. It'll be a collaboration between DC Studios, Warner Brothers Animation, and Solar Entertainment, and it'll be executive produced by Jim Krieg. If you have any doubts about the project, well, feel free to set them all aside, because Joker will be directed by Yasuhiro Aoki, who's been associated with some really good projects, like The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, and Chow. But what's most unique about the project is the whole premise. This ain't one of your typical Joker stories. In this one, well, Batman is already dead when the show begins. Yeah, we're seeing Joker in a Batman-less world. His arch-nemesis has been murdered, and weirdly enough, well, Joker is now on the hunt for Batman's killer, and he's going on an underworld rampage. But as his body count rises, so does his existential crisis, until he's completely spiraling. Because now that Batman is dead and gone, Joker is left behind to grapple with the question of who he is without Batman. Oh, how the tables turn, because this story follows Joker as he becomes the detective in the shadows, the vigilante going after the man who took away his greatest rival and his life's only purpose. I absolutely love this new psychological angle. It's just so much more interesting than another typical Joker story full of violence and chaos. Been there, done that. Instead, this pulls back the layers on an obsessive codependency between Gotham's yin and yang. DC also created this to be a separate anime project rather than a part of the main DCU, and I see no problem with that, because Joker really needs some room to grow. We don't yet know much about the voice cast and other details like a premiere date, but since it was greenlit in June 2026, well, it's looking like at least 2027. Starfire. Starfire was announced back in February 2025 with my adventures with Green Lantern and DC Superpowers, which we're going to discuss right up next. Fans of DC already know that Starfire is one of the most prominent members of the Teen Titans, but once again, Starfire will be going in a slightly different direction. Instead of seeing her start off as an already established member of the Titans, well, this animated show is going to be an origin story for Coriander. We'll see her escape from her home planet Tamaran and go on some super colourful cosmic adventures with Crush, aka Lobo's daughter, the plant-loving Fern, and Princess Amethyst of Gemworld. The series is going to be leaning more towards younger audiences, with 11-minute fast-paced episodes. But hey, there's no reason why you and I can't still enjoy the show. There'll be a lot of fun explorations of new planets and galaxies, and themes of friendship. In fact, it'll probably have large title cards to display new locations, creatures, and characters, just like the Suicide Squad. So, if you're looking for the usual darker tone in DC, well, this one might not be for you. But for those of you who are definitely excited about Starfire, well, we got a whole lot of new material during the 2026 Annecy Festival. We got a look at Starfire's new design, and it was revealed that the story is set around the Vega galaxy. Turns out we'll even get to see Lobo and the Thanagarians, and some Gotham references. As for the creative team behind the project, well, there's Josie Campbell from My Adventures with Superman, who's executive producing, and Brianne Druhard is the co-executive producer. We also got to know that Hynden Walsh is returning to voice Starfire, and Puffy Amiyumi are returning to perform the theme song after Teen Titans, which I'm super excited for. However, not to be the bearer of bad news yet again, well, there's still no official release date or a fully confirmed voice cast from DC. But hey, no news isn't necessarily bad news, especially because we know that this one's guaranteed. DC Superpowers. Like I already mentioned, DC Superpowers was announced by James Gunn and Peter Safran back in February 2025, and this one too goes in the younger direction. If we have any Marvel fans here, well, I'm sure you've all seen the X-Men films, and especially the X-Men Evolution cartoon, where we get to see the next-gen X-Men go to high school while also attending Xavier's Institute and managing their powers. Well, DC Superpowers is gonna do something similar. The show is set at the Alliance School for Heroes, and we see a young group of supers learning how to control and improve their powers. We've got students like Lightning, Flash, Plastic Man, Aquagirl, Green Lantern, and Terra, and they're all studying under our principal, who is none other than Martian Manhunter. We'll also probably get to see appearances from our OGs like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. We've basically got a superhero school story on our hands. And if they graduate successfully, well, they become the next generation of Earth's defenders. Imagine being able to watch Flash become faster and faster under Jean-Jean's training. I don't even care that the show is for a younger audience. I'm watching this. Matt Beans is executive producing, and Michael Chang is the supervising producer. But as usual, we don't have any announced voice cast or network, and definitely no release date, so you got to push back your expectations to at least late 2027. Another important thing is that the series will have its own continuity and won't be a part of the main DCU. which makes sense considering its target audience. But honestly, I'm glad that DC's branching out and going for more such stories that can focus on smaller scale storytelling, the small potato stuff. You know, if you've watched Brand New Day, DC Superpowers can just focus on character depth and arcs with friendships and competition and learning from one's mistakes. Just create some really solid superheroes. Krypto. Now this one was the most wonderful surprise of them all from DC's 2026 announcements, because man's best friend, or rather Superman and Supergirl's best friend Krypto, is getting a spin-off series. How cool is that, eh? This character has already become a part of the new Superman era, and audiences have really been loving and rooting for Krypto. I mean, Supergirl was pretty much entirely about saving Krypto's life. But let me clarify that this isn't the same thing as the Krypto Saves the Day animated shorts that Warner Bros. Animation released around the Superman home media campaign. This is a whole different series that was announced at Annecy in June 2026. And C.H. Greenblatt, who's very well known for his work on Chowder and Jellystone. It'll add to the previous two kid-focused shows, and C.H. Greenblatt, who's very well known for his work on Chowder and Jellystone, is coming out as executive producer. Now, that definitely tells us about the tone that this show will take, given his experience and expertise in the energetic comedy vibes and tone, which sounds pretty perfect for Krypto. Premise is also pretty simple and fun. We'll get to see Krypto really step into his own, with no Superman or Supergirl by his side, as he ends up with a group of misfits and wannabe criminals in the neighborhood. Of course, their initial plans are all full of crime, but then Krypto makes his entry and his chaotic fluffball of a personality rubs off on them. After all, like Superman, Krypto is even more fundamentally good-natured. So, with his superpowered influence, the gang's adventures become far less illegal and far more wholesome. Not to sound like a broken radio, but there's once again no confirmed cast, network, or release date. And we're looking at super early stages of development 2020, so 2026 or 2027 aren't looking very likely. Beyond, it is. Blue Beetle animated series. Not to end on a disappointing note, guys, but finally we've got Blue Beetle. And this one has got quite the complicated history, with a hint of good news at the very end. You see, this animated project was actually announced long back in 2024, with Miguel Puga as showrunner and director, and Christian Martinez as writer. Even Angel Manuel Soto and Gareth Dunnett Alcosa, who directed and wrote the 2023 Blue Beetle movie, were also on board as executive producers with John Ricard, while Galen Weissman was overseeing the series for DC Studios. The whole plan was to continue Jamie Reyes' story through animation. So it wasn't just going to be another remake of the same story. This show would go into much further detail about the Scarab, the Cord legacy, and a whole bunch of new storylines. Even Xolo Mariduena was going to return as Jamie. However, since then, things suddenly went quiet, and we're no longer getting any updates at all. Then we started hearing that the animated series had been stalled because HBO Max had moved away from children's content, which is what Blue Beetle was moving toward. And then finally, in August 2026, James Gunn put all of our hearts and minds at ease when he personally replied to a fan on Threads, confirming that the show is still very much in development, putting an end to all the rumors and speculation. I'm very happy to hear that, because this show has so much room for great stories. It's like the perfect combination of puberty, being a teenager, family, Mexican-American identity, and of course, superhero chaos, with a bunch of aliens here and there. Which kid wouldn't want to watch that? And that brings us to the end of the list, guys. Looking at it, we've got something for everyone on this list, and I'm happy to see Gunn and Safran have a plan in mind with the animated shows. So, which of these are you most excited for? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more such updates, and we'll see you next time. Ta-ta for now.